Talkfunding deep dive. And here we are again with Houston from Cycle Phones. Hello, Houston. Houston, we were talking in the main interview there regarding cycle phones, and I was sort of thinking about my Samsung Note 9, which has been my faithful companion for 2.5+ years. But the time has come, sort of thing. What you were saying about, first of all, there's battery degradation. Battery, it's clearly not holding the charge of what it was, and then secondly, it's going a bit slower. And even Uncle Alan notices these things. Okay, so I was sitting going, like, it's a great phone, and I mean, I like the phone. The audio is good on it. I watch a lot of YouTube on it, etc. I don't really want to buy a new phone, so one solution regarding the battery was I was literally online, this morning looking at, well, maybe I'll get a battery case, and that means I'll be able to extend it, because I can't replace the battery on it. And then now you're also talking about the software option as well. So maybe we can look at this as a deep dive case study to look at, in this case, my Samsung Note 9. Over to you regarding, say, let's start talking about the battery first of all, and then maybe move on to the software solution.
Yeah, of course. Batteries degrade over time. That's just natural. There's nothing you can do to stop it, but there are some things that you can do to prolong the battery that I believe companies are not implementing for good cause, because they want you to buy a new phone. And one of those things is, man, when you charge your phone, and if you're like me, I charge my phone when I go to sleep. I leave it plugged in because I'm not going to wake up in the middle of the night to unplug it, right? Well, on the iPhone, there isn't really a limit to stop the charging at a set percentage. Like when a company really takes their battery life seriously, there should be a feature that stops the charging, let's say at 90%, right? Like for example, Tesla. My girlfriend has a Model 3 that we can set the charging to stop at whatever percentage we like. But you can't do that with a phone. Conveniently for the companies, they also don't implement a feature like that. And if the battery life really degrades when you leave it plugged in charging at 100%. That's really what it is. And there hasn't been any solution other than buying like a custom kind of like USB outlet that stops the phone when it gets to 80 or 90%. There hasn't really been a built-in solution to these things. And these things definitely could be solved with software, but nobody wants to do it. And that's ultimately great for big companies like Samsung and Apple, because they can say, hey, your battery is getting slow. Why don't you come and buy a new phone? And they have the sexy ads, and those help as well.
My goodness, just that, I really didn't realize that about the battery. Because normally I just plug it in as you do and then just let it run. And I thought that the phone automatically cuts off at 100%. But what you're saying is no, and that actually helps to degrade or reduce the power of the battery over time. Is that right?
Yeah, it is. And I believe that the phone actually does cut off probably at 100%, but you probably don't want to charge it to 100%. It's much more healthier just for the phone's battery to leave it charged till 80 to 90%, because when you get to 100%, that's really not good for the components in the battery. And if you leave it charging, sometimes you feel your phone getting hot. That heat actually accelerates the degradation of the battery as well.
Wow. Okay. And now moving on to my, so I'm looking now at my Samsung Note 9 again, which is running Android. I think it's running probably 10 or 11 at this point in time. So what's the next stage where cycle phones are at the moment is this idea of, was it an app which will help, that's the point where you're at in the development of your company,
yes,
which will help my phone. What way will this cycle phones at the moment help my phone?
So first and foremost, it's going to make your phone a lot faster. Obviously that's more noticeable on older phones. Note 9 is probably, it's going to be faster for sure, but it's going to be less of an increase in speed. But I think for us, I think, like, I don't know if you remember with a couple generations of the Note, back in the Note, when the Note 4 or the first Notes were coming out, Samsung was putting these replaceable batteries in their phones. and they stopped doing that.
I did have one. I had a Note 4, I think.
Yeah.
It was the one
too.
before they had, before they had the problem with the battery. Remember, it was an exploding
the
battery.
exploding batteries. Hey, imagine if they had a hot 12-volt battery in the Note 5, they could have just shipped everyone a different type of battery that didn't, combust on a plane of all places. But yeah, man, like it's unfortunate that Samsung took that route, because the Note 4 was by far my most favorite phone of all time. If they kept the replaceable battery, I would have probably kept, I wouldn't be an iPhone user today. I would have stayed with the Note 4. And, I know why they did it, right? It's because they want you to replace that phone. They don't want you to keep buying these replaceable batteries. And, I find that to be very, very unfortunate, because I think that was a step in the right direction. And with these later models, we've actually gone backwards. We've regressed instead of progressed.
And then the other aspect was regarding the software, where Cyclephone's attention really is at the moment. Could you say a little bit more about how that would help my Note 9?
Yeah. So first of all, it's going to make your phone faster, and the indirect benefit of moving the computation off of the phone onto a server is that it lessens the load on your phone. So your phone is not going to overheat. It's if you have a bunch of apps open, you're playing, a fancy game, right? Sometimes your phone gets hot, and that is also going to degrade the battery. Your phone won't get hot when you're using Cycle. It's because all the computation is done on a supercomputer of a server. And I think just, there's just a bunch of small things that you can do to really extend the lifespan of your phone. Most people don't do it because, well, at the end of the day, convenience is king.
So whenever ordinary Joe's like my good self in time, will we be able to go on, like, say, onto the App Store, the Google Play Store or something, and then download Cyclephones in time? Is that the idea? Is that the direction the company's going in at the moment?
That's the idea.
And is there a timeline to that at the moment?
It's hard to put a specific timeline. There's a couple issues that make the user experience not ideal. One of them is the frame rate. So we have a couple solutions that we're looking into, but that's kind of like a dark hole of unknowns there. But what we want, what I think we could probably do is we're aiming for a Q1 launch, or a Q1 of 2022 launch in the San Francisco area with the initial testers. And I believe we're on track to hit that goal. But yeah, I wish I could tell you.
No, that's okay. No,
really
I think that's the exciting thing, as going back to your the pledges here, or the perks is, like, if you go put this the $1,000 plus investment, you can be part of that testing group. And that's probably why you have that core community that you've been developing, who like I'm miles away from being, all I want to do is I suppose 12, 24 months down the line, contact your good self, or like it is when it's on the App Store. So all Alan has to do is download it off the App Store,
Yeah.
And I think that's the exciting thing about your company, is that it really is at the crest of a wave here, from just by going through the main interview that we've been through, and now this interview. You really are at the crest of a wave of a new trend in moving away from e-waste, etc., and you guys are there at that point. So it's really great. Cyclephones is really a very interesting company, and it's really going to evolve over the next 12, 24, 36 months.
Yeah. I strongly believe so.
and
I might be a bit biased.
And then in time, what you're going to do then is to begin to look at developing your own phone in time. I mean, you're having to focus on getting the software right, getting the whole infrastructure side. Then you'll move on to looking at building your own modular type phone. Is that correct?
Yes. So in the beginning, it's the only modular component is probably the battery. I'm not sure like we're still kind of exploring the you know, the feasibility of making something completely modular. But we have actually, we like with this computing architecture, we actually have a massive hardware advantage over the other companies in the sense that we don't actually have to compete in terms of hardware. Right now, you know, Apple, Samsung, Qualcomm, all these companies, they're having a massive arms race on to see who can make the fastest ARM processor and stuff as much computing power in these phones, you know, as possible. And we don't have to compete with them on these regards. We can use off-the-shelf components, right? Components that are already plentifully available in the market, build a generic phone and still outperform, you know, these flagships.
Fantastic. Oh yeah, one thing before you go is you know, in terms of offering like a suite of services, which I find really interesting, because you know, Samsung has the Dex suite, which I think I plugged it in once, right? You know, what is that all-in-one solution that you were talking about? You know, what will you be offering that, say, the Dex suite isn't offering?
Well, our solution is really similar. So with Samsung, you plug in a dongle with the HDMI and you plug into a screen, it turns your phone into a desktop. But the problem with Samsung is with the Samsung Dex solution, at least currently, is that it's reliant on the app developers to make their apps support, you know, native desktop resolutions. Most apps are not there yet because, well, it's still relatively new. The advantage with our phone is that we can actually just straight up use another operating systems. The Samsung Dex, you still need to use Android, you still need to use Android apps, you know. For us, potentially we could be streaming Windows, we could be streaming Linux, maybe we might even be able to stream Mac OS depending on your needs, and you'll be able to use native desktop apps in a native or in a desktop kind of environment setting. And the exciting thing about that is that's completely based on your peripherals. So you could have a 4K monitor, you know, you could have you know, whatever resolution you'd like. It just gets streamed to your phone, and your phone never overheats when you're using high compute applications. Sorry, and that's really the exciting thing about this, is because like Samsung Dex, you know, with your Note 9, I don't know how if you tried multitasking at all, but if I think your phone will start by slowing down when you have, you know, 7 or 8 windows open, right, and maybe an expensive program open as well.
So this is really interesting because I'm a, you know, I was reading really about this whole trend of digital nomadism, you know, corporate digital nomads, where people are moving all over the States and all over Canada, like they can live and work anywhere. And
yeah,
really, so that's going to be a trend, that idea of mobile computing. So basically what you're saying is, and I like, I was, everybody else was sort of going, this is really interesting. So what you're saying is, you know, I'll just be still carrying, I could do all this by having like my mobile phone, a portable monitor, like a 4K monitor, or even I just need a 1080p monitor, and a portable desk, you know, keyboard and mouse. And that's really it. Houston, is that right?
Yep, that's it.
Wow.
There's also these products called laptops. It's basically a dongle with a keyboard, a trackpad, and a screen, but there's no like computing, there's no processor. It's the same format as a laptop, but you could plug your phone into it, and it kind of doubles as what are those called? A power bank, if you will. So it charges your phone, there's a big battery in it, and also it has a keyboard, so you get the full utility of a laptop. Obviously, it's not ideal because you still need to carry like basically a laptop with you, even if it doesn't have a processor. It's still the same form factor as a laptop. But what I think is probably more relevant is, you know, if you go to work, you just bring your phone with you, and then you have a nice keyboard there, you have a nice mouse and a nice monitor, all these, you know, and it's the peripherals that really make up your experience. Plug your phone into the monitor, connect it to your keyboard and mouse, and boom, desktop, wherever you go. But it's kind of, the only problem with that is there's still a physical hardware limitation. Like if you don't have a keyboard, you might it might not, you might not be able to use it like a desktop. But hey, that's the same problem you have with desktops anyway. So
Well, again, just exciting times, and please come back to talk to us, to update us maybe in the next 12, 24 months where Cyclephones has got to. I'm really excited for Cyclephones. So Cyclephones are live on Wefunder. All the links will be in the video description below. As I say, if you're really interested in getting part of the private testing group, a $1,000 investment will get that. I think it'd be really, really exciting to be part of that community. If you really understood it all, like, what a lot of stuff, what technical stuff that Houston's been talking about. It's beyond me. I'm going to wait to 12, 24 months down the line whenever I can just simply download it from my Google Play Store on my still going Note 9. So Houston, thank you very much. I've really, really been a very stimulating interview. So thank you very much, Houston from Cyclephones. Thank you very much, my friend. Bye now.